Casey. She has never been on the program before, and quite honestly, I wish it was under different circumstances, but there is a silver lining to all of this, and hopefully more is to come as well. You may have heard that a few weeks back, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, the TDLR, had made public that, in their opinion, she had failed her post-fight drug test due to an elevated levels of testosterone. But on Friday, the UFC cleared her of any wrongdoing, completely exonerated her. And as of Friday afternoon, Texas had not done the same. But let's see if there's an update to the story. First, let's bring in Cortney Casey. Cortney, are you there?
I am here, Ariel. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. And again, like I said, I wish we had some more positive things to talk about, but I do think that we're trending in that direction. First, let me ask you this. Is there an update to the story? Texas, as of Friday afternoon, had not said that they were clearing you just yet. Have they done so?
They have not done so. We did receive an email. Jeff Novinsky received an email from the TDLR yesterday, Sunday, the 25th, stating that my case is still under investigation. Okay.
Are you expecting them to make this right?
I'm hoping they are. As the way things have been going so far, I don't see it happening anytime soon. But, you know, we can only hope for the best and just kind of wait to see what they're going to do.
Why do you think that is? Do you think that they don't want to admit any wrongdoing?
I think that has a little bit to do with it. I mean, they were pretty upfront with Jeff, letting him know that they kind of thought they were in the right with releasing everything as far as their understanding of the testing. But with, you know, Jeff kind of informed them on the additional testing that needed to be done to prove that it was a positive test, in which we did, and it proved that it had, you know, it was clean, everything was fine. So I never really tested positive for anything. And it was just an elevation. So, like I said, right now I haven't heard anything from Texas. I hadn't heard anything from them since, like, I think June 9th was the last time I actually had a talk with someone from the commission. So I don't know. I really don't know what's going on. And I think that's kind of the uneasy part about it.
So this news first came out on May 26th. That's when they made the findings public, and they also overturned your win over Jessica Aguilar, which I thought was the best win of your career thus far, to a no contest. When did you find out that they were doing this, and what was your immediate reaction to it all?
I found out through Tiago via Facebook. He messaged me and just kind of asked me what our plans were in handling the situation. I didn't know what he was talking about because I hadn't been contacted by anyone. So I called him. He informed me. I right away called Jeff, and he said he just heard as well from media outsource, not from Texas. And then he went back and looked over all the paperwork, and that's where he saw that my TE ratios were elevated, and that's right when he called Texas. But I heard first through secondary hand from media, I guess you can say.
Wow. And how did you react? Like, did you think it was a joke? That is bizarre in its own right. But...
Yeah, it was very bizarre. I was kind of confused on what was going on. Because I mean, I knew I didn't take anything. Like I barely take any supplements as it is. So like I instantly went and reread everything because, you know, we're given guidelines from USADA. We're given, you know, all the information we need, and I follow them, you know, very strategically. And as soon as I talked to Jeff, he said, you know, don't worry about it right now as far as gathering everything that you took, gathering, you know, like your food and everything. Let's just look into, you know, your passport and see what it is. And I guess there's a lot of variables that can cause elevated TE ratios. I didn't know, but birth control, age, just your natural biological makeup, all that plays into a fact of your TE ratio. And when they looked into it, that's pretty much what it is they can't really pinpoint exactly if it's my birth control or if it's just how I naturally run. But from what I've heard and from all the tests is I've always been a clean athlete. I never tested positive for anything performance enhancing or any positive for that matter under USADA.
Did you ask them, or did your management ask them, why come out with this until you had all the facts, until you tested the B sample, until you were 100% certain that I did fail a drug test?
We did. We sent emails showing them. Jeff Novinsky contacted them right away that first day, and kind of explained to them. And from my understanding, is they just really didn't seem to care. So,
like, what do you mean by that? Like they just said, we're going with this and that's it? Like we have no regard for your reputation, for the win,
correct.
all that stuff?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What Jeff Novinsky sent over emails with articles, the USADA guidelines, everything like that, showing like the proper protocol that they need to do for a TE ratio, for an elevated TE ratio when all other tests, come back clean, because my whole panel was clean. It just had an elevated TE ratio.
Uh-huh.
So I never tested for anything. So that's when the secondary test needs to be ran, that IRMS test and that carbon isotope scanning, and all those come back clean.
Have you ever been told in the past that this was something about you, that you sometimes have elevated levels of testosterone, that this is something to look out for? Has this ever come up on your radar?
No, never. Never have been informed about it. I think from my understanding is that it's really not high. It's really, compared to, someone like a woman who would go in for, treatment of some sort, for like hormone treatment. Like mine's not even close to a level where I need to be regulated or anything like that. It's just a slight increase or decrease. I don't know if it's estrogen or testosterone, because that's how the ratio gets played. So from what my understanding, from what I've been told, is it's most likely due to my contraceptive, which I've been on for, I don't even know how long, like at least 10 years. So that could play a part in lowering my estrogen.
And so you know how things go, especially in sports. You're guilty until proven innocent. And I think the reason for that is, if I'm being honest, is so many athletes have come out and said, oh, I didn't do anything, and then you find out that they did do something. I mean, most famously, Lance Armstrong. There's many other cases. And so,
of course,
you see a performance like the one you had, and you beat one of the top, contenders at 115. And I would imagine, I didn't scour through all the comments. Of course, this didn't happen to me, but I would imagine you got a lot of people saying to you, oh, you're a cheater. Can't believe you did this. What was it like? What kind of comments did you get? What was the reaction?
All of them. All of them. I got everything from, not just this win, but my past wins. Like, oh, she must have been on steroids when she beat, Randa, when she, all this stuff. So not only, is my reputation for the fight with Jessica affected, but my previous fights, my whole athletic career is now affected by it. I was an athlete before. I played soccer and stuff like that. So all that's in question. My character is in question. My job, like I coach kids for a living, that's what I do. And our gym prides ourselves on technique over strength. And then for me to be associated with steroids, it kind of tarnishes that image as well. So, I mean, I've been personally affected by it. My family's been personally affected by it. My students have been personally affected by it. So, I mean, it's been a pretty crappy 5 weeks.
How did you handle it? Like, were you depressed? Were you able to put on a happy face? Now that it's hopefully almost coming to an end, looking back, how did you handle it? It sucked. It sucked not to be able to kind of defend yourself. But in that kind of situation, you kind of want to stay silent. That's what I was, informed to do, is just kind of not feed into anything, not get into battles with people online, not just me, but my family, like having to tell my family, like, we just got to wait for, what I've been telling people is I just had to wait for a test that I already knew the answer to. Like, I already knew the answer was going to come back as clean. I just had to wait for it. And there's no sense in, trying to do damage control when no one's listening anyways to the science that's being presented to them, let alone, when the test gets sent to them, it's always going to be something like I found a loophole or whatnot. And luckily I have a lot of people behind me, showing that I didn't, squeak it by USADA or get by with, covering anything up. Like I didn't do anything wrong from the beginning. I was told that people came up to you and we're saying things to you and we're saying things to your kids.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Correct. I don't know. I personally got verbally harassed in Target, told that I let the whole island down and that I was a cheater and everything like that. People were commenting on my photos of my kids on my Instagram, telling my kids not to do steroids and stuff like that. Like, it's just pretty ridiculous, you know, finding my mom on social media, my brother and my sister on social media, you know, and harassing them as well. So it's kind of affected my whole family a lot. And it just kind of sucks because, like I said, you can't really do anything until everything came out. And since everything took so slow and no one made a statement, and you don't really want to make Texas angry, so you kind of just, you know, wait for them to do the right thing. And at this point, we're still waiting.
When did you find out that the B sample came back, that there was, you know, nothing as far as foul play involved, that you're being exonerated, at least from the UFC's perspective? When did you get the good news?
I was informed on the 21st.
The 21st?
I think it was a Wednesday.
Okay. What was your reaction?
I just was just finally, like, like I said, I knew what the test was going to show. Like, I knew what the test was going to show. I knew it was going to come back clean. I've always been a clean fighter, so it was just waiting for a test I already knew the answer to, and then really just waiting to see what Texas did. And in that first 24 hours, we got nothing. The next day, we got nothing. And here we are still with just, we have to continue to investigate this. So I mean, I've been exonerated by the UFC, which is great. I've been exonerated by USADA, which is awesome. But at the end of the day, the people that need to be making an apology haven't.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that made the statement. And that's kind of what sucks for someone, you know, for a commission like that to just be so lackadaisical on such a very, you know, that affects me, you know, heavily from the moment it gets released.
So just to catch, to get people caught up, Texas said last month that your A sample came back with an elevated testosterone to epitestosterone level over their particular threshold of 4-to-1. And then you guys had your B sample tested. This was according to Jeff Nowitzki, who told our own Mark Ramundi all of this. And those results, which we obtained, came back negative for any banned substance. And they used the isotope ratio test, which I believe is the best kind of test to find out if there's any synthetic testosterone in one system, and to find out if there's, you know, any kind of foul play involved. That's basically, I mean, I know it's very much more complex, but that's the story boiled down to, right?
Correct. Yes.
And so when you're going through all of this, it's expensive. But from what I understand, the UFC has paid for all of these tests, the second B sample test, anything that you need to do in relation to this, they're paying for.
Absolutely. Yeah. They, from the moment, you know, everyone harps on USADA and all that stuff, but, you know, having to check in and change your calendar and everything like that. But it's for these reasons, you know what I mean? Like, they make sure they dot all their I's, they cross all their T's, they make sure everything's in place before they make statements, before anything. And they've been 100% supportive throughout this whole thing. The UFC, Dana White, you know, of course, Jeff Nowitzki, Sean Shelby, everyone. So, I mean, I can't complain about the system. You know, I guess if it was on the other end, you know, it kind of suck. But, you know, I'm happy with the process that they're taking and all the steps, you know, to make sure that my name is cleared and to show that I didn't do anything wrong.
And now they said, I saw Jeff Nowitzki told us as well. He told Mark Ramundi this, that they're considering not going back to Texas. I mean, that's a major. I mean, to see them stand by you like that is pretty incredible.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I know in the past, you know, there's been issues with Texas Commission and stuff like that, but I think this one kind of was the icing on the cake to accuse someone who was absolutely innocent, you know, and then also been given the information they were given to just blatantly ignore it. You know, and obviously I know that's not what the Texas fans want. I know they want more UFCs. I mean, Dallas was awesome. You know, I hope we get to go back, but, you know, like Jeff said, and the UFC says that, you know, we shouldn't put the athletes in danger of stuff like this that can be avoided.
Do you think that you'll get your win back as well? I would assume so, right?
I would hope so. Yeah. I would hope so. I don't know. And, you know, everyone asks me, like, you know, how it's been since all this has come out. And I can't really, you know, be really 100% happy about it because I still don't know what Texas is going to do. I have no idea.
So you're kind of just in limbo right now, pins and needles.
Still just waiting. Yeah. Just waiting, training, trying to, you know, block everything out, kind of focus on myself. It's hard. It's tough, you know, but what are you going to do? You know, got to keep living. So just try to take it one day at a time.
Not surprised to see a commission kind of dig their heels in and not want to back down. But I can't imagine after the second, you know, sample coming back and USADA and UFC clearing you that they would hold on to this one. But Texas is a bit of a funky one. It was funny at the UFC 211 official weigh-ins, they kind of made a joke about the New York commission and the towel thing with Daniel Cormier. And I was like, of all the commissions to crack jokes about another commission, they're not the ones. They have a long history of doing things that would be categorized as, you know, a little bit fishy. So this, I mean, this is a bizarre one, but I do agree with your hesitation as far as, or I don't blame you for being hesitant because nothing would surprise me as far as Texas is concerned, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, you know, we could just, like I said, just wait it out and hope for the best. You know, I'm happy that I have the UFC behind me and Jeff Novinsky handling this, and plus the cooperation that USADA has had with, you know, giving Texas all the evidence that they needed. So, you know, I can't really complain on our end as far as doing our job to protect me, but, you know, there's two sides to it. So we can't force them to do the right thing, but we can just only hope that Texas kind of gets their stuff together.
And they didn't tell you anything about like, oh, we have a hearing coming up and we're going to look at this. It's just kind of, you know, hanging in the air.
Just kind of hanging in the air. Yeah. All we got was like I said, a simple reply back to an email, just saying that they can't make any comments on an ongoing investigation, something like that. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have another fight booked yet?
I don't. At this moment, I don't have a fight book. Hopefully, you know, I can get one in. You know, I try to stay as active as possible. So, you know, everyone's saying, well, it's just a 3-month suspension. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, if it does still end up going through. But to me, you know, 3 months is a long time. I take a lot of short notice fights. I stay ready.
Yeah.
And it does affect me. But hopefully I can get one in before the end of the year. I'd love to. You know, I'd love to get 2 in before the end of the year, but we'll see how it goes.
Wanted to quickly ask you about something that Felice Herrig said yesterday. I don't know if you saw her fight. Another great performance, a win over Justine Kish. But afterwards, she was very emotional backstage. Did you see this scrum where she spoke to the media about?
I didn't. I only saw her in-cage interview. I didn't see anything that happened afterwards.
Afterwards, she spoke backstage about, you know, she's overcome a lot, but she also said that she thought that she wasn't, you know, pretty enough and young enough to, you know, be pushed by the UFC. And I was reminded of your scrum after 211 and some of the frustrations that that you shared about, you know, being a women's MMA fighter and not getting pushed and seeing other people get pushed. And so I was just wondering if you know, saw that and echoed her sentiment. Quite frankly, I think a fight against, you know, with you and Felice would be a very good one and one that makes a lot of sense right now. But I was just curious if you saw that, because I feel like I'm starting to see more women speak about this and feel comfortable to speak about this. And I thought that you explained your feelings towards the predicament that some female fighters are in as they're trying to advance their careers and do it, you know, the right way in their opinion.
You know, it's a kind of a tough situation because considering who it's coming from. Yeah. You know, I think her heart's in the right place. She means well and everything like that, but she also says one thing and does another. You know, I'm not taking my clothes off on social media. I'm not acting innocent and showing my butt off and doing things like that and saying I'm not getting the attention I want. You know, it's different. You know, I think everyone wants the attention. Everyone wants those big fights, and everyone's going to try to do what they want, you know, what they think they need to do. But as far as Felice goes, you know, I know she's been through a lot. I mean, everyone's heard her story and stuff like that. You know, it's, you know, yeah, I'm with her with the whole fact of, you know, not feeling pretty enough or feeling that you're too old. You're not, you know, the 18, 20-year-old coming into the UFC. You know, we are a little bit older fighters, but at the same time, you gotta practice what you preach at the same time.
Fair enough. Are you confident? I mean, after seeing what happened here with the UFC and Jeff Nowitzki, and clearly, they are behind you. Are you confident that things will change?
I'm yes. With Jeff Nowitzki and the UFC behind me, I'm definitely confident that there is going to be a change in some way, whether we end up going back to Dallas or we don't. But I know that they feel strongly about this situation. They definitely don't want it to happen to another athlete. I don't want it to happen to another athlete. So I think we're, me and the UFC are in agreement. We both kind of stand in the same light as far as making sure that this doesn't happen to anyone again.
Yeah, there is no denying that with USADA involved, there's a lot of good that comes out of it. And we have seen some situations where, people have been accused, and after some, further testing, their name has been somewhat cleared. I think the best thing to come out of this situation is there is no fighter association. So it's not like you have someone going to bat for you, but the UFC and USADA seem to have gone to bat for you with a commission that clearly got this one wrong. And if there wasn't a USADA, if they didn't hire Jeff Nowitzki and his background, you'd kind of be left on an island all by yourself to fight this commission. So yes, there is no association, but I feel like this is a very nice byproduct of the relationship with USADA. I don't know if you agree, but it sounds like you do.
No, I agree 100%. I agree 100% with that. Like I said, I am extremely happy in the way that, Jeff, USADA, and the UFC have handled this situation. Very professionalism from their end. And, I just hope that it continues, and hopefully it rubs off on these other commissions to kind of, jump on board on just letting, the UFC handle everything as far as commission-wise goes, hire who they need to hire. I mean, the playing field should be even no matter what state, what country we go to. You play a basketball game in the U.S. and you go to Japan, the rules are the same, the guidelines are the same. And I feel like the sport's big enough where it should all be the same. With the hands touching up and down and all that, I feel like everyone should just come to agreement on what the rules are going to be for the UFC, no matter what state they go to. And that should be in place, because right now it's just confusing to the fighters. It's confusing to the fans. It just makes things a lot more difficult than they need to be, and these commissions just kind of need to jump on board and figure out, the best way for everyone. And right now it's just not working.
Couldn't agree more. I'm very happy for you, Casey, Cortney, excuse me, that this all worked out. And I hope that sooner rather than later, the Texas Commission will come out and just admit that they did something wrong, and we can move on, that you get your win back. I know that you can't take back the last month or so, but I hope that they at least publicly apologize to you, and not only do it privately, but publicly as well, and get your win back as well, because that is, quite frankly, the least that they can do at this point. Thanks for coming on and talking about this. Congrats on at least getting the UFC and USADA to publicly say that, that you are in the clear and that you did nothing wrong. And I hope in a matter of days that you will get that news from Texas as well, and keep us posted if you do get that news.
Thank you. I will for sure.
All right, there she is, Cortney Casey, one of the top fighters in the UFC strawweight division. A really crummy situation turns good. Not quite there just yet, but hopefully in the next few hours, days, she will get that good news. And I do really mean this. One of the great byproducts of having Jeff Nowitzki on board, having USADA on board, is that they will help if a situation like this comes up. And in the past, that wasn't the case. The fighters just had to do it on their own with their management, and some management teams aren't equipped to figure out these situations. So it actually helped her this time. That's great to hear. Hopefully she gets her win back. Hopefully they get that public apology, because I definitely think that it is warranted.